The only reason our company, Square, exists is because we saw a problem in that Visa and MasterCard were not allowing small merchants onto their network. That still is our goal. We're not in it to build an exchange. We're in it to help the internet realize a native currency, and therefore help the world realize a native currency.
Yes, founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, a man so heavily respected in tech, just gave an emotional plea for Bitcoin. Listen to Jack explain why he's passionate about Bitcoin and spends his time working to help increase global adoption. Jack starts by speaking about his history with open source technology, then finding Bitcoin, why he likes it, and then finally, at the very end, an impassioned plea of what we're all fighting for. Hit subscribe for daily videos. Such a great clip.
The only reason I'm here on this stage is because of open source. That's how I taught myself how to program when I was a kid, because of the grace of people giving their work away for free, doing things in the open, doing things publicly. And that was back in the day when I was a kid. It was around Linux, and the open source community was starting to thrive as the internet was getting more and more accessible to people. And there was a bunch of communities on the old system called Usenet. Some of you might be familiar with it, some of you may not. But it was a message board, effectively, and it was fairly decentralized, just like IRC, Internet Relay Chat, was decentralized. And during the early days of the internet, there was a lot of really incredible open source sharing and energy, and also a lot of inherently decentralized energy through these older systems. And then we saw this wave of more and more things getting centralized behind the web, such as Google, and really centralizing the discovery problem. How do I find things? How do I find what I want to read about, what I want to understand? But in Usenet, there was a group called Alt Cypherpunks, which were a bunch of fans of cryptography and cryptographers and mathematicians, and the early days of PGP were chronicled there, and just a number of really radical acts and radical people. And the gem, the thing that everyone was searching for, was money. How to not reinvent money, but put money back in the control of the people. And so I'd been following that and interested in it for quite some time, as another way to learn and understand. And I was a punk when I was a kid, and I thought it was just the coolest, most righteous, noble pursuit. But it wasn't until 2008 when things really came together with Satoshi, and whoever that person is, or the group of people are, took from so many ideas all over the internet to crystallize into this one moment, which became the white paper. And once I read it in that time, I was like, wow, this is it. This is incredible, because it is open, because it is provable, because it is transparent, because it is visible to everyone. And incredibly, whoever this person is has, kicked their ego to the side and given it to the world. And that, again, an act of grace that I saw early in the open source community, and want to continue to replicate and want to continue to push. So that's how I came to it. Square was starting at the same time as Bitcoin finally got going in 2009. There was a lot of financial energy because of the financial crisis in 2008. So there were a lot of companies that were starting at that time, including our own. And we watched it very closely. We tested something in 2014 where we gave sellers the ability to accept Bitcoin on their web pages. No one really used it. We didn't have sellers that people really wanted to spend their Bitcoin at that time. But in 2018, we saw another opportunity to, again, learn about Bitcoin and how it might change our industry and what that trend is, and we built it into Cash App as an exchange. It was a Hack Week project with me and Mike Brock, who's back there, who spoke yesterday. And our only goal was just to be able to convert Bitcoin instantly to buy a cup of coffee, and eventually that translated into the exchange product for a number of reasons. But that still is our goal. We're not in it to build an exchange. We're in it to help the internet realize a native currency, and therefore help the world realize a native currency. And when I say currency, as Jack said before, more of an open money transport, an open money protocol that we can all see, we can trust, that's not controlled by a government, that's not controlled by a corporation. The only reason our company, Square, exists is because we saw a problem in that Visa and MasterCard were not allowing small merchants onto their network. And we just said, we're going to figure out how to do that. So we're very familiar with companies, whether they be banks or networks like Visa and MasterCard, not enabling everyone and choosing through not wanting to put resources into it, or deliberately, potentially in collaboration with various governments. We saw what happened in Nigeria and SARS, and how the Nigerian government went to various bank corps within to stop protesters receiving money, which Bitcoin made up for. So our whole reason for being as a company is solving the same problem that Bitcoin will ultimately solve for everyone in the world, in my belief.
And why does this matter to you? By the way, click subscribe if you want to keep learning daily about crypto. But why this matters: number one, Jack is so heavily well respected in tech, in finance. When he speaks, smart people tend to listen.
What does Bitcoin have anything to do with human rights? Isn't it just about investment?
Not for me. I mean, for me, that Bitcoin changes absolutely everything. And what I'm drawn to the most about it is the ethos, is what it represents, is how the conditions that created it are so rare and so special and so precious, and I don't think there's anything more important in my lifetime to work on, and I don't think there's anything more enabling for people around the world. That's what I'm focused on, making sure that I help with. Whatever I can do, whatever my companies can do to make it accessible to everyone is how I'm going to spend the rest of my life. If I were not at Square or Twitter, I'd be working on Bitcoin.
If these are the conversations happening in the open, think of the conversations in tech, in finance, happening behind closed doors. Be sure to join us at the Bitcoin conference this week. Link down below if you want to buy tickets, 10% off. And like always, see you tomorrow.